Hello everyone, I welcome you all to this channel on MacTalk. Today we are going to study what is fluid mechanics. See, as we have already discussed why it is important for us to study fluid mechanics. So in this video, I'll be looking at the very definition of fluid mechanics. Along with that, we'll be also seeing the history and the scope of fluid mechanics to some extent. Now let's start from what is fluid mechanics. So basically, fluid mechanics is the science of fluid flow which deals with the fluid flow and its behavior in rest as well as in motion. See, as we have discussed fluid flow, that wherever we are surrounded by fluid flow directly or indirectly. Even if we are in our houses, we are consuming the electricity, and that electricity is coming from our hydraulic power plants, which are working on fluid flow arrangement. Like there is a turbine we have, and through that turbine there is a flow taking place which is of water, and that flow is in turn giving the electricity from the generator that is coupled with the shaft of that turbine. And as we go out of this house, we find that if we are traveling in a car or an automobile, we have this body which is called aerodynamic body, and the engine that is working also working on fluid flow because there is a combustion, and that combustion is taking place. So what do we need to understand is wherever we are surrounded by fluid. Suppose I am traveling somewhere in my automobile, and then I get off, then I visit a hospital, and there I'll be measuring my blood pressure, and that I can measure with the help of fluid mechanics only. If there is a ventilation system that they are using, that also depend on fluid flow. If you want to take a flight, you will be going in aeroplane, and that aeroplane completely surrounds the fluid, that is air. Even if you are traveling through ship, there also you need a fluid mechanics so that the ship can balance without any instability. So as I have already discussed the importance of fluid flow or fluid mechanics, now let's see the basic definition of fluid mechanics. Fluid mechanics is the branch of science or the applied mechanics which deals with the behavior of fluid, that is liquid and gas, at rest or in motion. See, we are dealing with fluids in rest as well as in motion. That means we are going to study fluid statics in rest and fluid kinematics and dynamics in motion. So what is this fluid statics? Fluid statics deals with fluid when there is no relative motion between the fluid particles. Typically, this included two situations: when the fluid is at rest and when it moves like a rigid solid. See, what fluid statics means: whenever we are dealing with fluid statics, we will be having a fluid. That fluid will not have relative motion in its particles. Suppose this is A and this is B, and if these particle or these points are moving with respect to each other, then this fluid will not be termed as static fluid, because in a static fluid we are going to have a particle in their fixed position all throughout the study. The another condition of fluid static is that even if our element is moving, the particles that are there must not move relative to each other. Suppose this element of mine is moving at some velocity v, but inside some fluid, right, inside some fluid, but the movement of particle within this element are not moving with relative to each other. That means this condition is also for fluid statics. Now the next is, when it comes to motion of fluid, there are two branches of fluid mechanics that comes into picture. The first is fluid kinematics. Fluid kinematics is the branch of fluid mechanics in which we study the fluid motion but without considering the forces that are causing it to flow. Okay, so in this case we do not consider fluid pressure forces. And in fluid dynamics we study fluid motion. Along with that, we also consider the pressure forces that are making a fluid to move. We used to have two subjects: one was hydrodynamics and another was hydraulics. Hydrodynamics was the theoretical part and the hydraulics was the experimental part. So the scientist Kirchhoff combined together and call them fluid mechanics. So the subject that we are dealing with consists of hydraulics and hydrodynamics. That is the theoretical and the practical part with. That means whenever we are dealing with the subject like fluid mechanics, the theoretical and the experimental parts should go hand in hand. See, there are these two bodies that we deal basically in mechanics, but mechanics itself deal with the rigid body only, because mechanics is the science, or is the branch of science in which we deal with the forces that are acting on a rigid body. But when you see the overall mechanics or the mechanical we deal with, is basically deal with two type of bodies. One is a rigid body, another is deformable body. See, when it comes to rigid body is a body in which if you apply the force, if you apply the force, the particle remains fixed at their position. The particles remain fixed at their position with respect to each other. Suppose, let's say this is A and this is B point, and if you have applied some force, even after applying of that force, you will see there is negligible change in between the distance of these particles. If that happens, that means the body that you are dealing with is the rigid one. If you want your body to be deformable, that means the change in distance between 2 point is considered, not neglected. Sorry for the mistake. So the distance, if there is the distance that is changing between this A and B point, that means the body we are dealing with is deformable one. Next, how we can relate the concept of rigid and deformable body with the live example. Suppose this is the string that we have, and that is attached to this block. So what this string is, this is deforming. Suppose this was the point A and this was the point B. Now the B point is somewhere far from it, because the force that is acting through this block has changed the length of this string. That's why this A and B are no longer have the same distance as they were having when there was no force applied by this block. That means in that case, when the string was not stretched, these points were having this much length, suppose let's say L, and after some times it gets 2L. So that means what you can say is, you can say that there is a deformation, there is a change in length, whether it is an increment or decrement. So here we have seen the increment. So this string is a deformable body. Now let's see this block. Suppose this is the point A from which it is attached, and there is another point, let's say this is the point B. Now if we see the change in their length, or the position with respect to one another, if there is no such change occurs, then the body will be the rigid one. Okay, so this block is here we have taken as a rigid body, and this string we have taken here as deformable body. Now this rigid body could be static or dynamic. That means the rigid body could be at rest position, or it might be moving. If it is in a static position, then the forces that we are studying acting on a static rigid body, that branch of science is known as mechanics. And if we are dealing or studying the forces that are acting on a rigid body which is in motion, that means this branch of science will be known as theory of machine. Another, we have this deformable body, which can be further categorized into solid and fluid. In solid, we can have static and dynamic solids. If it is static, see, the strength of material is the subject in which we take. That means all the body that we are studying must be in stable equilibrium, or you can say must follow stability. For example, this is the rod that we are studying. Now if it is not attached to a particular point, then it will be moving, then it may not deform. It might be confusing to you that how can we study deformable body in strength of material. Suppose this is the deformable body that we are dealing with, strength of material. So what we generally do is, this is the point, let's say this is the point A and this is the point B, and there is this distance L. Now if I apply some force Fx, now this same force Fx is applied in opposite direction uh, by this fixed point, and in this way we are fulfilling the assumption of strength of material, which is the body must be in a stability. The forces must balance, means the net force that is acting on a body must be zero. Then only we can create some elongation or deformation, and whenever there is a deformation, there has to be strain, because a strain is nothing but the rate of deformation. And if there is a strain, then only there could be a stress. Okay, And in strength of material, we basically deal with the stresses and strain. We basically deal with the stresses and strain, and that can only come to deformable bodies. The dynamics part of solid is in vibration when there is a body which is solid, along with that it is deformable, and that is moving too. Okay, if it is moving, then we come to the vibration part. Next, the fluid. Obviously, fluid is deformable. We do not need to tell that gas or liquid is deformable. So that all we study in fluid mechanics. Now, as we have seen earlier in earlier video, that what are the importance and what is the why of studying fluid mechanics. So this is what we have studied, but here you can just revise it as fast as we can. See, the very first point is it is a highly visual subject with good instrumentation, and the use of dimensional analysis and modeling concept is widespread. The second is it has a lot of application in engineering, and that is enormous, like in breathing, blood flow, particularly in biomedical engineering, and swimming, pumps, fans, turbines, airplane, ships, rivers, windmills, pipes, missiles, icebergs, and so on. Almost everything on this planet either is fluid or moves within or near a fluid. Earth is 75% covered with water and 100% covered with air. And the sciences of meteorology, physical oceanography, and hydrology are concerned with the natural occurring fluid flows, and medical studies of breathing and blood circulation is also there. And in transportation, aircraft, rockets, and naval hydrodynamics of ships and submarines, almost all our electrical energy that is also, and the combustion problems are also solved by fluid flows. And there are lots of things like irrigation, water supply, sewage, and oil and gas pipelines. Okay, so this is it. This is the importance of fluid mechanics, which is applied enormously in most of the parts of engineering. Now let's talk about some mind-boggling fluid flows. We have taken three parameters on the basis of which we are going to talk about the flow. The first is the size, second is speed, and third is pressure of flow. The first is the size of the flow. See, in this parameter, this is the parameter which we call as characteristic length. Sometime, if there is a flat plate over which our flow is occurring, then we will take length as a characteristic size or the characteristic length. And if the flow is taking place in some circular pipes, then we take dia as a characteristic length. But there are some complex cross sections that are not easy to deal with. So see, here we were talking about the length. The smallest length that we have, the smallest diameter that we have here is in nanoscale devices that are too small and through which fluid flows. These are the very small, you can't even see through your naked eyes sometimes. The second is raindrop, which is 10 to the power minus 2 meter. That means the dia of a raindrop is 10 to the power minus 2 meter. Okay, so you can visualize how much small it is. Then as you increase the length or the characteristic length of a fluid flow, you come to a point when there is a very high diameter you get of a tornado or a hurricane that comes in the Jupiter, which is known as Jupiter red spot, whose diameter is larger than the diameter of Earth. You can see here the diameter of this hurricane is very large as compared to Earth. So in this way we have seen a strange type of flow in which we have categorized these flows in terms of their characteristic length. Next parameter we can take is velocity. See, the velocity of continental drift is too small. See, the continents that we have today was part of one another, and they moved from each other because of this continental drift theory, or the fluid flow, you can say. So this is the South America and this is Africa, that you can visualize as a part of one another. And today, because of this small velocity, 10 to the power minus 8 meter per second, they are very far from each other. Now the second is, as you increase the velocity of the fluid flow, you may see a syrup or a honey on pancake, and its velocity is 10 to the power minus 2 meter per second, which is small. And as you increase, there are so many examples that you can take, but as we go to the extreme case, we see the meteor entering atmosphere. Most of the times they are like dust and they just destroy at the atmosphere of earth because they are at very high speed and they just get burned. Another parameter of fluid flow you can see as pressure. See the pressure in lb per inch square. If you are speaking like I am right now, so there is some sound pressure that is coming out of my mouth, which is of 10 to the power minus 6, because there is also a fluid flow that is going on when I am speaking. So this is also creating or exerting some kind of pressure which is very small, 10 to the power minus 6 lb per inch square. And as you increase the pressure, you see in the automobile tire, that is of 10 to the power 2. And as you increase, the pressure is very high in water jet cutting, because the water which is at very high velocity is sufficient enough to break the hardest material ever. So this is how we have categorized. Now let's talk about the history of fluid mechanics. See, till the time we didn't even know what the fluid flow was, and we did not even have a material to study what the fluid flow was or the fluid mechanics was. But before that, in prehistoric time, we were having both. We were having oars that were useful to give direction to the boat or the ship, and we were also having some irrigation system which were using a concept of fluid flow that after some time we understand and started studying them as a fluid mechanics. Now let's talk about the scientists who have done a lot to fluid mechanics. See, the very first one is Archimedes. Archimedes formulated the laws of buoyancy. That of course is very important for us to apply these concepts in floating and submerged bodies. And the Leonardo da Vinci, who was excellent experimentalist and who also formed or stated the conservation of mass in one dimensional steady flow. And his notes was very accurate on waves, jets, hydraulic jumps, eddy formation, and both low drag streamline and high drag parachute design. Now the next scientist is Leonardo Euler. Euler, you may see when you derive the Bernoulli's theorem through mathematical operation, there comes the Euler's hard work. So he was a great mathematician. He wrote 200 books on mathematics and published lots of papers of his research. And yes, by using Newton's calculus, he developed the way to solve the equation of motion of non-viscous flow so that we can apply it practically in viscous flows. Okay. Next scientist is Ludwig Prandtl, who is the father of modern fluid mechanics. He developed and analyzed boundary layer theory. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you like it.